go ahead and get started, so we can get out of here on time. Thank y'all for meeting this morning, on the Friday morning at 9 a.m., after an eventful week, you know?
Yeah, what's it?
But we're here, so the goal, so I call this meeting to order at 8:59 a.m. Any changes to the agenda? All right, so the goal for today, now with the new schedule that we have with board meetings, I was just trying to think ahead of what we need to do because we will start, the applications close today. So, superintendent applications close today, and the TSBA will then begin to filter the applications and give us a recommendation. And we will start the interview process on February 16th. So there's a couple of things that I want to make note of is, first and foremost, so if we have more, so we have February 16th, 17th, and 18th. If we have more than 3 candidates, what does our schedule look like then? And I think we need to think about that.
Yeah.
Just in case we have more than 3. Because I know the board voted up to 5.
Yep.
So where does the 2 extra days come from?
I mean, the 21st is President's Day, so that doesn't.
I'm supposed to vote. So would we just postpone the call meeting?
Good question.
Or do we have all day for 16th through those days? Do we double up a day?
That's what I was wondering, because I haven't been involved in this process, and Patty, you may have some more insight. When you do these interviews, are they an all-day, like the 16th, 17th, and 18th with one candidate? Does that take up the whole day? So we could potentially do 2 a day?
I mean, if I may, I mean, what happened last time was that, you know, the top candidates, however many there were, and I think there were 3 last time, but, you know, Patty, you can correct me if I'm wrong, you know, those candidates came to a board meeting, specially called board meeting, I believe, and then you all interviewed, you know, the candidates with whatever questions you all decide. I mean, I think that's obviously the big goal today. And then, you know, same questions for each candidate. And then after that, there was the top 2 candidates had a presentation. They both had to do a presentation, and that was at West High School. So
That could be the process that we talked about, right? I know that when we had the lunch with Tammy, she said that each day would be for a specific candidate. So we can put parameters on like an hour question presentation type thing. We can do 2 hours, right? We can do whatever we want to do.
Yeah.
But I think that we have to be, my goal right now is where do we put, and maybe we need to think about the process first before we figure out where do we put those extra 2 days at.
Yeah, yeah. Like what the framework of that is.
Okay, so let's put that in the back of our minds real quick, that we might have 2 extra people, potentially, okay? All right, so that's up in the air. Extra. All right. So, this guy right here is what Tammy sent me, and then the sheet of paper is what, they used in 2017.
The last time.
How do you feel about the interview process, these questions that you all have last time? Do you feel like they were sufficient enough, or? We need to, okay. So,
Or is that over
that's this one right here.
this, I like the format of the one you received from Tammy.
This-
I have not, I think it seems to cover most everything, and I think I like the ratings and the explanations. I think it's more complete, I guess,
yeah.
is what I'm saying. Like at the back, the dimension rating criteria 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I don't think we used anything like that as a guide last time, so I think that's very important if every board member would familiarize themselves with it. We could just quickly go down through 1 through 10 and look and maybe circle the ones that we like, X out any that we don't, but then if they're covered in this other.
So let's take like 8 minutes real quick for us. to
Okay.
just read through
Okay,
that, then
okay.
mark what you like. We'll come back together at 9:12. The goal, is to present the questions to the board on our next board meeting to see what they like, what they don't like, and that's adopted.
Yep.
I may not have read it as well as, I don't know, and I guess it's up to interpretation, but I don't similarities in these two documents. I
Uh-huh.
see this document, and, I mean, I like this document, and this document's fine. I see this document as being a lot more specific
Yes.
and a deeper dive
Yeah.
into the thought processes of that person. And I
Yeah.
don't think these questions are covered in this one. I'm not opposed to using both, but, I mean, I would start off with tell me about the time when you failed. Yeah, I would move it to the bottom,
Yeah.
but I do think that is important, and I do think budget is so important, and how you prioritize and cut that budget. There's a lot of ways that could be done, personnel versus programs and all that. So I think these are really good questions that were used last time. I think right now, number 10 is probably really important, examples of building and maintaining high morale among employees, because we know that's not real high, it's kind of low, and some ideas, so, I don't know, I don't remember, Gary, or
I
Terry.
have an idea. You want to
Yeah.
share?
Yeah,
Wait a minute, I was just gonna say, before I share your idea.
yeah.
I would probably maybe start out with this for the
Uh-huh.
first 5 or 3, whatever we have. When we get it down to the last 2, maybe use them. Now, I'm willing to hear your ideas.
Yeah.
That's my thinking on that.
Yeah, I think I'm on the same page as Patty. I see this as more cookie cutter, like a 30,000 foot view, where this is more specific and more specific to our community, to be honest. And I kind of like, I would like to see a hybrid. I like the ratings on this because I think it's easy. I think it's a good way to track everybody's input. But I do like the questions on this. I'm with Patty. I like the questions about morale. I think that's really important right now. I'd also like to maybe add a point in there about recruiting and retaining teachers, because that is such an issue right now, and it's something that I think we really need to address. I like the word inspire in that leadership and team building section. And I really like the section about, curriculum and instruction. I think that's really important. Student achievement is really important, which is not covered in this packet either.
And finish, I don't.
No, that was it. That was
To
it.
add to Betsy's point, I think that, and we can, I mean, too deep, or people could change their mind. But I think if you look at our last 2 superintendents, it speaks a lot to how they approach the budget. Teachers never had a raise under our former superintendent. Classified never had a raise. I mean, their length of terms were maybe now a little bit comparable, but one pushed really hard over the last 5 years for teacher raises, classified raises, custodians, all that. So that was a priority, where the other ones never. There was always programs over people. So I think you have to kind of find out where that person's coming from. So that's a huge difference,
Okay. You ready for my mastermind
Yes,
idea?
I am.
Yeah.
I've been waiting.
So
I feel like we need like
I was like, okay, finish. No, no, just play. So what I think is that, I like this, and I wonder, so if we had an hour-long process, right, or say an hour, 90 minutes for each candidate,
Yeah.
that we can go ahead, the top 5 candidates, we can go ahead and give them this framework to have them present these answers. So they can go ahead and have these questions and let them know this is what we're rating you on. So do a 15-minute, 20-minute presentation. And as we're watching and hearing their presentation, they're walking us through each criteria, and we score from what they say there. And then we do the question and answer as a board with these questions.
Okay. Yeah,
So because I wouldn't want to hear their responses in words
Yeah.
to this, because that's a lot, but they can gather that information and present their best self. And then when we finish the presentation, as they walked us through all of these, because I do think that it's important to have this, but they can develop that like a performance task type
Right.
thing. And then the board asks these questions or whatever questions we ask.
I like that. back to the original document from TSBA. Do we want to give them like I think you mentioned the time limit of it, but also, I would prefer if we're going to use this document, then keeping it in order, and maybe you could be more specific, like not hold them to it, but, you know, do you have 5 minutes to address criterion 1, criterion 2, you know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
we know kind of, and they keep it in that order. Some of them overlap, but if we're gonna use the ratings, I would prefer we be able to look, okay, so we're talking about criterion 1, and be looking for those responses. Does that make sense?
It does, and that's the conversation. If we're agreeable to that, and the board agrees to that, that'll be the conversation that I'll have with Tammy to say, lay out a performance task for them to create a presentation, a 20-minute presentation, no more than 20 minutes, that walks the Board of Education through each of these criteria. We will follow along with the presentation, so it needs to be indicated and clear when you're moving on to the next criteria.
That's good. I do think that if we just did this, you would have to
More?
allow, and we ask questions, they responded. I mean, you're taking a lot, that's using up a lot of time, and you would have to have a full day. I mean, if you did it in a question and answer format,
I
oh
wanna do
my
that.
goodness. So,
Yeah.
I like the presentation
And
format.
then-
I do too, I like that.
And then, see, I told you I had mastermind it. And then you're thinking from the candidate aspect, like they can present their best selves in this way. And then this will just be, because people can show up differently. And so you want to be able to see how people show up in live question and response, and then also how you're going to present to the community, because your presentation is going to be a representation of how you will move forward in this job as well.
Yeah,
So are we agreeable to that? How do we feel?
I like that idea.
And then, because I also do think that the metrics, because there's no metric, these are just kind of, did I like what that
Right.
person
Exactly,
said?
Yeah, exactly.
But if we actually have some numbers that go
Yeah.
along with it too, I think it's a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think some kind of metric needs to be.
Gary?
for that.
So, you all can do whatever you want. No, I like it, but all the finalists are gonna be treated consistently then, correct? Okay, because I know, Patty, you had said that, you know, maybe do it just for like the top 2 or whatever. I mean, my recommendation would be treat all the finalists
All of the-
consistently,
yeah, 'cause there's-
all the way across the board.
That level.
Yeah, I think this should, everybody talking to the mic, y'all not talking into the mic and they can't hear us at home. Yeah, I think this should be the finalists, the 3 to 5 people we get, this is the format. And like I said, I'll get with, well, we need a vote on the board, but this will be the recommendations going to the board.
Right.
Is that we will give them preset questions for them to create a presentation no more than 20 minutes that will walk us through the interview guide for each criteria, so that we can have number metrics on everything. So the candidate will know to hit every point in their 20-minute presentation. After the 20-minute presentation, we will then move forward to the interview questions that were used in 2017. The board can suggest other ones, so we can go ahead and send them this information, Terry, to tell them to come the first week of February, on that Monday, with new questions if they want. And then
Yeah.
after the 20-minute presentation, we will then use the next, I think we should do 90 minutes for each candidate. Like, have the time span
For
that?
the question.
For all of it.
For all
each.
of it, okay,
Uh-huh.
okay.
So we would then use the next, what is that, 70 minutes for interview questions. If we need it, we might not need all the 90 minutes.
Oh, I think we'll need it.
Oh, I think we will.
you're-
I know our board, huh? Forgot who I was working with.
There's some meetings I think aren't gonna last long, and they do. This will last long.
I mean, we know how well you do keeping on track. and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
still value that, and we'll be out of here. But I'm not sure
Yeah.
that amount of time.
Yeah.
So should we just
It's
set it
bad.
2 hours for each candidate?
Well, are you gonna allow for any, so these are the questions,
Mm-hmm.
but if somebody had a follow-up question, a board member did or something, I think you might need to allow some
Yeah.
time for that.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's their response, but I don't know.
Want
I
to
don't-
dig deeper? Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. I mean, I guess we want, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so if board members have follow-up questions, that may result in different questions
Questions.
to each
yeah,
candidate, so
okay,
you have
hey,
to.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
I know that was
No
shared,
follow-up.
Yeah.
that was shared by Tammy, like, all the same questions
That's
have to
true.
be asked.
That's true.
So
Yeah,
I think we do have to set that precedent to
I
say,
think
you
so
know,
too.
write down your comments for
Right.
us, for you to talk about when we come together in our call,
Exactly.
special meeting.
yeah. And I think we have to stress too, when we send the board these questions, if you have additional questions or additional points, it's important that
To
you
put
get
it
them
here
in.
now.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we got to
Yep.
vote, and this is what we're sticking to.
Yes, yes.
And if-
So,
and
how-
if- Sorry, I mean, if you're just asking somebody to clarify, that's one thing, right? I mean,
Right,
but-
yeah.
But to your point, and to what Terry's saying, I mean, yeah, you don't want, the board members don't need to come with totally new questions, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so I mean, go ahead.
How secretive is this? I mean, we're obviously going to share it with the board. These you're sending out for them to do their responses. I don't care, we can send it to all the candidates. I would just like, we'll have to make Gary weigh in on this. I just think it has to be uniform, like one candidate could not
Cannot
have
argue.
access to these and another candidate not, or everybody needs them, so I don't know if you want these to be like totally on the spot generated, like, so that we can see how they respond to questions they don't previously have, or I don't care. It doesn't matter
Yeah,
to
I
me.
hear what you're saying. How does it work with open records, though?
Yes,
Like-
just,
Yeah.
so those questions are attached to previous
Okay.
agendas on the
Yeah.
website, and the
Fine.
board actually approved those,
I was
and
gonna
so
say, if they were
they are
asked before,
out
they're,
there.
And so when we're at our meeting next week, or in February, they're gonna come with new questions, so it's already gonna be public knowledge. We can
Yep.
yeah,
That's fine, I mean, I don't have any problem.
I feel where
I
you're coming
just
from, though.
ask.
Okay. So, whew. All right. Evity's getting with Tammy to talk, because I want Tammy to create, this is your performance task document from what we've talked about.
Ask her about timeframes too.
Timeframes,
while you're-
yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
that's
I
good.
mean, 20 minutes is fine, but get her to weigh in on what she thinks is
Okay.
reasonable.
For that, okay. So I want to, so given that, and then these questions, maybe we do an expectation of 3 hours for each candidate. I don't know to me, 3 hours feels like a very long time,
Per
but,
candidate.
no, just in life.
Oh,
But to just be like, it's a long time. But I don't know if we want to like give respect to people's time.
Yeah.
I mean, we do want to do that. So I'm just trying to figure out what would be an appropriate interview amount of time. And I'll weigh in with
What-
Tammy, but
yeah, what was it last?
you said what?
I mean, it was roughly an hour for each
Okay.
candidate is what I
Okay.
recall, yeah,
Okay.
last time.
believe
So I
it was
think
an
we
hour
should
and a
do like a 90-minute type ordeal for each candidate.
Okay.
But I'll still weigh in with Tammy.
And then are you going to have go to the bathroom period in between candidates, or are you going to book them 1, 2, 3?
I hope so.
So
We
what-
know you like to get it done.
Let's go. But the conversation is 16th, 17th, and 18th, and that was supposed to be for each candidate. It
Right,
wasn't supposed to be multiple days, multiple
Okay.
candidates in a day.
Okay.
yeah, because this
Yeah.
schedule is a whole,
Oh, yeah, we gotta get to that too.
yeah.
Okay, that's good. So
So,
they have a day,
So we-
90 minutes.
so we have the interview itself laid out. Anything, so I'll recap.
Yep, you're good at that. I
I'm
think.
presenting to, I'm an educator. I'm presenting to the board in February that we would like Tammy to create a performance task assignment for each candidate to answer these questions in a presentation to not exceed X amount of time. I'll let Tammy make that recommendation. That will that will answer these questions through their presentation, and the board will just go through their presentation and mark their answers and notes, whatever else. After their presentation, we will then move on to the live questions, and each board member, we can divvy up who asked what, in a live conversation or response.
Yep,
If you have questions that you would like to be added to the interview questions, then you need to have them submitted on Monday for us to review, because we have to vote for them on the Wednesday. And those will be the only questions we will ask as a board to make sure that this process is consistent throughout.
Yes.
All right, that's the interview process. And the recommendation is 90 minutes.
Would you like for me to change the order of the questions before I send them to the board? And maybe, since we said the first one was, tell me about a time you felt, we can move that to another?
Yeah, we
one?
can.
Like-
I don't really care. I just thought, you know, we always don't want to start off negatively.
I mean, it's a great question, but yeah, starting off with it, maybe we should add another question to that category.
But I think that, like, maybe if we move up leadership
Yeah.
and team building, and then maybe school board
Swap
public,
them
and then,
out.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, what kind of flows?
yep.
Yeah.
All right, so we're good with the actual process. All right, got you. Now let's move on to what the day, sample schedule for candidate is. Now, we don't have to do this. This is just also a recommendation.
Right.
So we don't have it printed out, but it's on your computer. But this is a sample schedule for candidate visit that Tammy sent us, the TSBA. And then also thinking, if we do this, who would be our sponsor to be able to, because board members aren't doing this. It's an outside community organization.
I think this is when KEF could,
Oh, is
Really,
that, okay.
yeah.
I didn't say it, Chris. I didn't. This is where they can step in and support.
I think so. That's my recommendation.
Okay, cool. But anything on here that we want to change, or I think probably should change. But I mean, we can also leave it. We can let KEF create what they. KEF, would you like to come to the podium? Chris,
Do they have a, yeah, thanks, Carrie.
My only thing here looking at this is that if you're going to allow 90 minutes and it starts at, well, that'd be okay, 5 till 6:30.
Oh, we gotta go to dinner.
Evidently, yes.
3 minutes. Who paying for that, Gary? Eesh.
Sounds like the board's paying.
So, so anyway, I think that it would still work. 90 minutes would be 6:30, and you would have a 15-minute break. So I think it would still work. I was just concerned about starting at 5, but I think it would work. And, yeah.
I mean, this is just a sample, like y'all were saying. You all can, adjust as needed. And the other thing is, I mean, if you all want to condense the time, that's another thing. That way you could provide, for 5 candidates within 3 days, make it more of a half-day visit total, or maybe just over a half-day. That way you could fit in, up to 5. But I'm open to other suggestions. I mean, whatever y'all need to do.
Yes. So, Chris, if you don't mind just kind of leaning into like the support level you're thinking, I know this is kind of on the spot, but apologies.
Just on behalf of our
Sorry,
board.
Chris, that was
Yeah,
my
no,
fault.
listen, we're thrilled to play a small role in this. I think we'll do whatever you guys feel is best for the board and the district. But, I think involving the community will be a key component in getting the candidates out to meet with stakeholders should be a top priority. So we can do that, whether it's through partners or through a lunch or hosted at one of the schools. It'd be great to really just afford an open environment for families, students, and whoever wants to meet these candidates to come.
Okay.
So we can do whatever you ask us to do on behalf of this community to make sure as many people as possible get to meet the final candidates.
Thank you. Cool. Thank you, Chris. But I'm curious too. Thank you, Chris. Like if we did do community luncheon with business and community leaders, are they available for 3 days?
That's a good question.
Well, they could send different representatives, but then the same person wouldn't hear all 3.
Yeah.
That would be the disadvantage.
Yeah, that is a big time commitment. We'd have to send this out as soon as possible so they had time,
To-
so their schedules don't.
Yeah. What happened? Oh, okay. What would life look like if we had each candidate, like 3 interviews in a day for the board, 3 90-minute? Like if we only had 3 candidates and they, I don't know.
Well, could you, we meeting with the principal, what else is down there? A meeting with faculty and staff. I mean, feasibly, you could have somebody doing their interview while somebody else was touring, I guess. I mean, if you, like if somebody was doing the 8 a.m. tour, then somebody else could be meeting with the board, but you would get them out of order. I mean, they would not be, it wouldn't be consistent.
It's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And that would be a change of the board schedule, which is, if we need to do that. Gary, you have anything?
Well, I think that's one possibility. I think you all are on the right track. Again, I know last time the board had the interviews on one day, and so there is some precedent for that. But then the community meeting at West was held on a completely different day. So, you could look at it that way. Instead of looking at each individual candidate having one singular day, you could just have multiple days that would include all candidates.
All of the different things.
Yeah.
So a day for like community luncheon.
Yeah.
So the candidates will be in Knoxville for 3 days.
And just split this up over 3 days. I think that makes sense. I just want to see the community as involved as possible in this process. And so if we did a lunch, because I don't think, to your point, getting all these folks at a lunch 3 different days,
I'm
that's
not going.
impossible. But if we had 3 candidates at the same lunch, is that what you're saying? Like that could be a possibility? Yeah, on the
So-
same day.
Well, and to speak to Gary's point, and that's not in here, where you had the final 2 candidates at West High School. And that's really where the community was involved, because it was well attended, and you had, anybody that wanted to come could come.
I got
But-
it. It came to me. So, with the 16th, 17th, and 18th, right? What if the 16th and 17th are the community and business events? And then on that Friday, the 18th, is when we do the interviews for the board. And so the board would just commit, because we added that Friday
Right.
at the end of the day, which kind of threw my whole plans off, but the will of the board in service, okay? We added that Friday, and so what if we do that Friday, be it 3 or 5 candidates, that's the day that we interview everybody. So then, I think that being with the community and the business people first will help them answer and be more prepared for a Friday interview to meet with the board, because they've met the people, they've got insight, they walk.
Input from community. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think, I know we had up to 5, but I think this is why it was so critical to have when we, 3 candidates type thing. So we'll see how that plays out, but
Can always hope for 3.
Yeah.
It's a lot more
manageable.
manageable.
Yeah.
It's not that I want to eliminate anybody. I'm just hoping that the scoring will be
Be
such
evident,
that we don't, the ones they send us, there's a clear break, and we don't have to do 5. But I don't want to eliminate anybody, but 3 is a lot more manageable.
So if we did 3 to 5, say 3 90-minute interviews on that Friday, and then you'll have the weekend, whatever, community input that you can share. People can email us their opinions and their thoughts and their votes. And then on that Tuesday, we take a vote. How does that sound?
I think that's a great plan.
Don't you? So 16th and 17th, and we can kind of figure it out, or let KEF figure that out of which one's business, which one's community.
Yeah.
So 16th and 17th will be community days with business leaders, luncheons, whatever it may be. And then we would, on the board, just rearrange our schedules to be available from.
Yeah. I really like this format too, because I know just from me personally, I think seeing people or candidates interacting with community, interacting with parents, business leaders, stakeholders, just seeing that engagement is really important over sometimes, interview questions that people can answer beautifully. But I think seeing that interaction is important. So I like seeing that first. So I like this plan.
Okay. Betsy.
Uh-oh.
Can I ask you to create a sample schedule
Mhm.
that we can present to the board on
Sure. Yep,
in February?
Absolutely, yep.
With what we talked about. So it doesn't have to be as concrete as this, but I know you work close with Chris about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And so can you create a sample schedule? And then also for that Friday, what will be our time
Yep.
for Friday? So board members can know what time to be there. And we
Yep.
can get a little 15-minute break in between if need be,
Yeah.
Patty.
Yeah,
So Betsy, on the tour of the schools and community, which was to be conducted by either Chamber of Commerce or the Education Foundation or a real estate agent, or
Right.
maybe even two of those people. I think one of the things about our district for when I did my 90 school tour is seeing, and you don't have to go to every school,
Right,
but I
yeah.
think, I just want to make sure we have enough time, because I think it's really important for them to see how far-reaching our system is.
Yeah.
Like, not just to take them to two areas that are like different, but I mean, if you're talking Anderson County, you're talking Blount County, you're talking Loudoun County, and you're talking, so, what's south of that, Blount, I guess. But anyway, I mean, those schools are really far apart, and I had no idea, and I think it's real important that whoever's coming in understand how far geographically these schools, not just to go see a community, but to.
Right.
And I don't know how you do that, I'm just raising that point.
Okay, yeah.
We don't even have to do it, but I do think it was eye-opening to me
Yeah.
to drive all the way out to Bonnie Cape, and then drive all the way out to Carter, and then, I'm over here in, almost Loudoun County with Farragut, so, or Hardin Valley,
Right,
so
yeah, yeah.
It's really big.
It is big.
Yeah, I think that, so what a day, right? That could be a candidate's full day is from like 8 to 5 type full day, if not 6. Like, if you're going through these intense interviews, this is what a high level
Right. Oh, yeah.
executive
Yeah.
interview, it's all day type thing.
Yeah,
And so on that Wednesday is community and schools. On that Thursday is business, and then on Friday you come. But it is expected that these positions that you
oh,
go
yeah,
in
no,
intense.
absolutely.
If you're doing a full day, would you want the candidate to visit at least one school from every district?
That can
That's
be
what I was
considered.
thinking, yeah,
It can be considered, however it flows
Yeah.
for that day. But I think full
Okay.
day is the expectation.
yeah, I agree.
And you're gonna, yeah. Okay, wow, look at us. What else is on this agenda? All right,
So
go ahead.
these meetings would be on the Thursday then? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think, so this could be an example she can look at to
Okay.
guide, but I think we need to create a sample schedule from what KEF is willing to do, and then also what works with us. So my recommendation is that Wednesday is community, schools, like the community aspect, the parent
Yeah.
meeting, all that stuff.
Yeah,
All that jazz. Thursday is the business operation, meet with you, teaching, whoever may be is available to meet with the business aspect.
Yeah.
And then Friday is the board interview.
interviews, yeah,
Okay.
And we could end that Thursday a little early so that they can prepare for,
prepare for the interviews.
Friday.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
yeah. And then they go home, we have our 3-day break, and then we come back and we vote on the 22nd. Now, 22nd, how does that go down on the vote day? I know Tammy talked about something, writing on pieces of paper and.
Writing it on pieces of paper.
Right, yeah, you all would have a ballot, and then, the ballots would then be revealed, during the meeting, and then we go from there. I mean, but again, that's just the first step, right? Whichever candidate you pick, and then we would have to negotiate the contract
Yeah.
after that.
And that's whole board, is that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah,
And then we did
yeah, the whole
talk
board's
about
gonna have to agree
evaluation.
upon that. Well, I mean, the chair's the one that actually negotiates.
Yeah, okay, good.
But then the whole contract then comes back before the board.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So, to clarify, you and the candidate and Christie would meet with that candidate to hammer out their contract, and then it would come back to the board.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the candidate could have his or her own counsel too, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so for February's meeting, I have my task of getting with Tammy to have her create a performance task, sending this to the board to say any additional questions, please bring them Monday so we can talk about them because we're voting on them on Wednesday. You are working on the sample schedule
Yeah.
that we would need to look at
Yep,
for Monday and vote on Wednesday.
Right.
And Patty, you are just giving us guidance.
yeah.
That is where you've made it to that, okay? Anything else?
I think so.
Anything else I need to be thinking about ahead? I'm glad, like I said, I wasn't really sure. I knew we needed to do something because February is our last chance to vote on stuff.
Yeah,
So I'm glad we called this
Yeah.
meeting.
yeah. Even at 9 a.m.
Thank you all.
Mr. Dupler, do they need to make a motion and vote on this?
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So I make the motion to submit, Terry, I could've, no. No, you're good,
Everything
you're
we
good. I got
talked
it,
about.
I got it. I move that we submit a sample interview guide to the board that follows the recommendations from TSBA as well as the questions that are provided for their input of any change. And a sample schedule
Uh-huh, yeah, yep.
for the interview day.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, cool.
Now, do you need to make a motion, Betsy?
I put sample
Oh.
schedule.
It was in there, yeah, yeah.
Okay, any other business? All right, and in true FT fashion, the time is now 9:41 and this meeting is adjourned. Have a great day.